Hello everyone and welcome to another scrapbook layout process video where today I'm actually going back to a project that I started last year for my 2023 family album, which I'm actually doing on 8.5 by 11 size pages. I absolutely love working with this size project, and what I thought I would do today is get a card making kit that I have ordered through Stampin Up, and I'm going to create a double page spread using this card kit for some photos that were taken on Mother's Day last year. Now, while I don't actually share my family photos themselves online, I will actually share this photo here, which was a lot of fun. We went out to a brewery for lunch and then we came back and my daughter had gifted me for Mother's Day this croquet kit, and we had so much fun playing this in the backyard. So I've got some family photos of us playing this and while we were out for lunch as well. But I wanted to show you this photo because this is what I'm basing my colors on, and I'm going to do a little bit of unboxing. Even though I have already opened this, I wanted to show you what the card kits come with, and hopefully this will inspire you to look at these from a different viewpoint and consider them as a scrapbooking kit. I really haven't put any of these cards together yet, but I really liked the stamp set that was in here, and there's an element in here that if you know me, you know exactly why I've purchased this kit. Now, the colors I'm going to work with are somewhat loosely based with what the colors in this kit are. You can see there is a greeny blue color here. I'm going to bring in Coastal Cabana, which is a Stampin' Up ink. I'm going to bring in Papaya, and I'm also going to bring in Peach. Now, this sort of replicates the color tones of this kit, which was a little bit of a jumping off point for me, but I think these colors are going to work really well with my photos. Although they're not an exact match, there's a nod to the orange tones with the papaya, and I think peach works really well with this. I didn't want to bring in a bright pink, and the Coastal Cabana I think is going to be a really good match for this minty blue-green color here. So let's just set these aside for a moment. We are going to get a little bit inky with this project. I want to get some of my 2023 pages finished. I haven't been necessarily scrapbooking these all in order, so I have got some filler pages that I need to do. So you can see with this card kit, there are 3 different designs of cards here, and everything that you need to create these cards is within this box. You can take this box with you and create all of these without taking anything else. If you were going away for a few days and you knew that there was some downtime, or if you were heading out to a workshop that was for a couple of hours, you could take this and get these projects done and not carry a whole heap of other scrapbooking supplies with you. The way the kits are designed, you've got the photos on the front. There are no actual written instructions, but there are very clear instructions here on how to put things together that are purely visual. It shows you exactly what you need for each project within the kit. So this one has 3 cards, and it also has a cool little box that you can put all the cards into, and you can use that as a gift for somebody if you wanted to. It shows you on the back here exactly what is contained on the kit, and this is an image that you will see on the website as well. And one thing that I wanted to mention was with these kits, they are not contained within the annual catalogue. So all you have to do is look online. You can just type in kits as a search and it will come up with all the kits that are available. So let's have a look at what is actually in here. You get a little stamping spot. So this is grey granite. You can see there's a bit of stamping here. And I love the detail on this stamp set. I love this rose and all the shading that's on there. So there's no need to colour it in, but we're going to do a little bit of colouring a different way from what they've done it within this kit. I'll go through that in a moment. There are sentiments on here, so it doesn't just have to be for Mother's Day. There's a great happy birthday, thinking of you, thank you, all the things that you need. And there are some leaves as well to go with this. It's separate from the actual floral image. You do get a block with these. This is a bit thinner than a regular block that Stampin' Up have, and also close to my heart have, which are the blocks that I'm using at the moment. If you don't have a block, you can use this one, but I prefer the ones that are a little bit thicker and they have the indents on the side to make them easier to grip. I've got some twine here, and I've also got the dots that I need to complete the project. These are rather gorgeous. I do love the colours of these. So this green doesn't exactly match the Coastal Cabana, so I might look at sage or something like that to bring that in if I'm going to introduce the green accents. There's some dimensionals here, and I love how they're all nested together so there's no wastage, and you can also cut away this area on the outside and use that. And there are some glue dots as well as some twine. So you can see this is why you don't even need to take adhesive with you if you purchase a kit like this. Now let me move this aside a little bit so I can spread these other goodies out and tell you why exactly I wanted this. Apart from this large floral image with all the shading on here, I just think they're lovely. When the floral images have this detail on there, it makes it really easy to stamp, colour, or not even colour at all, or do some ink blending behind it. This kit makes 3 of each design. So you get the card bases. So these fold in half to make the card bases, and they've already got designs on them. So there's a yellow tone here. There's one here with a circle and line element. And this is something that I couldn't resist. It's got the paper print here with the text on it. And I absolutely love text on paper and on stamps as well. So 3 different types of card bases. It makes 9 cards altogether. And then you get 3 different types of envelopes as well. And these ones are really cool because the inside has the pattern on it rather than the outside of the stamp set. A lot of the other card kits have the pattern on the outside of the envelopes, but you could deconstruct these envelopes and use these as patterns on your paper. This one has a text on it as well, and it's in a gorgeous color here, a little bit like Coastal Gabbana, I think, or it might be another green. I haven't learnt all the Stampin' Up colors yet, and I love the text look on both of these pieces. So I am going to be taking these envelopes apart so that I can use these pieces, not necessarily on the project that I'm working on today. And this one is the same pattern as here with the yellow circles and stripes. So you can see the coordinating patterns here with all of the card bases and then with the envelopes. Then what you also get are these elements that go onto the card. So these already have the color on here. I'm just going to bring this back in so you can see the flower has been stamped over top of this image. So that gives the effect of having colored in the image without doing any work yourself. It's already printed on there for you. You get some die cuts, and that's to go on the actual box. I'm going to show you that in a moment. Here are some other spots here that have the color on here ready for the card base, and also this one as well that's ready for the card base. So if you wanted to make these cards, all you need to do is look at this really. You don't even really need a lot of instructions for this. This would fold in half. This piece goes on top like so. Before assembly, you would do your stamping of the floral element, the leaves, and then you would bring in the pieces to do the sentiment and the dots, and your card is done very quickly, very easily, but an absolutely beautiful design for you to gift. Now this one here, this element goes over top of this card panel like so, but I didn't want to cover up all of that text. I want to use that text on my actual scrapbook layout. The other items that you get in here, you get a plastic box that you can assemble and put all of your cards in. You just have to do a little bit of creasing there so you can make it into a box, and it comes with a belly band here to wrap around. The adhesive is already applied to this. So basically they've thought of everything, and then your floral elements goes on the top. And then if we look at the instructions here, you can see, and this is what you do when you attach a tag with the for you and the twine. So let's keep looking at what else is inside this box. There are some textured elements. This is like corrugated cardboard, a little bit thinner. It's like a cardstock. It's a heavy weight and quite firm. And these pieces are for the cards as well. And then there are tags here. So these push out extremely easily. You can see how well they push out. And then you can layer them with these elements here, which are designed for you to stamp the sentiments on. So I'm not sure if I'm going to make these up as cards or if I'm going to make this entire box work as scrapbook layouts, but I'm just going to work on one scrapbook layout today. The first thing I'm going to do is put aside all the pieces that I think I may use on my layout. So the envelopes, I might be using some of these to add as little additional elements. I don't think I'm going to bring in the yellow at all because I haven't picked that in my inks. So I'm going to put those back in my box here. I'm going to leave my labels near the top. These are all going to go back in. I don't think I'm going to use those unless I bring them out to the side of my photos. And I'll put these back in as well. And I think I'm almost ready to go. So I have a little idea in my head about what I'm going to do for this. So the first thing I need to do is do my stamping onto my background pieces here. I'm going to bring in some scratch paper to see if what I have in mind is actually going to work. So I've got my stamp here. I'm going to use it a little bit unconventionally to start with. So I'm just going to peel this off the carrier sheet because I think I'm going to make a border of these going down the edge of my page. So instead of putting this on a block, I'm just going to use my hands and I'm going to try and replicate this a little bit, but I want to test this out first. So I'm just going to open up my Coastal Cabana here. I've got that one, I've got papaya, and I've got peach. I'm not going to try this with the yellow at all. And what I want to try and do is just ink up a little section of this. So I'm just holding my stamp like this, and then I'm going to put some ink down. That gives me a little bit of texture here. But I think what I'm going to do is second generation. You can see this one is quite dark. This one looks pretty good. I'm just going to wipe this off a little bit before I go in with the next colour. I'm just going to clean the back of this off with my stamped chamois. Dry it off on my page here, just my scratch piece. And then I'm going to pick up a little bit of this Coastal Cabana. I'm going to stamp off with that. Now, this is creating a really lovely effect. But as I said before, I really don't want it this strong. So then I'm going to put a little bit of that down. I think I can actually do a couple of these. And then I have my peach ink here. Now I might be using this one in first generation because this is a lighter ink. So I love how that looks just in first generation. So I'm just going to put that over the top. And then I think this is going to be my border, but Coastal Cabana is looking a little bit too strong for what I need. So maybe what I need to do is do this as third generation. I think I prefer that. So I'm going to just do that again in another area. Take it off, put it up here. So now I'm just going to build up the other two colours around it. Peach in first generation, and then papaya in second. So I'm just flattening it out a little bit off onto my area here. I really like how that's looking. So now I'm just going to test how the stamped image looks like over top. So this is taking the design for the card and transferring it to a scrapbook layout and then adding some other details as well. I am going to use this grey granite. So because this image is quite large, I haven't actually used it before, so I'm going to season it. And because this is quite large, rather than trying to ink it up this way, I am just going to ink it up by taking the ink pad straight to the stamp image. So I'm just inking that up all over. And then I'm going to stamp down on this. It's quite a strong ink. It's a lot darker than what I thought it was going to be. I thought it would come out a little bit lighter, but I think this is going to dry back a little bit paler. I'm going to try one in second generation, and I'm thinking I prefer this. I think this is the way I'm going to go for this. It doesn't look like there's much ink on this stamp pad, on this image, but it's really going to work quite well, I think. I also want the leaf. I know this all looks like a bit of a hot mess for now, so I'm just going to flip my Versamat over so I can stamp on this side and ink on this side. I'm going to get a new piece of this so you can see what I'm doing. And instead of doing the inking on the back side of the stamp first, I'm going to actually stamp my floral elements so that I've got an idea of where to lay down my colour. So I'm just going to ink this up, stamp it off, and then I'm going to come down the page. I think you can see the detail in this is absolutely beautiful. So I'm going to do a few of these floral elements, and then I'm going to put the leaves in, and then I'm going to come back in with the actual colour. What I want to try and make sure that I do is rotate this every time I put that down so that the floral elements aren't all going the same way. This is a gorgeous image, and it's one that I would be quite happy to leave stamped just like this without using any markers or anything like that at all. So I've done this. I'm going to do exactly the same treatment for the other side. Now, if you get some ink over here onto your block, just make sure you wipe that off so you don't transfer it onto your project. And I've got the leaves here, and I'm just going to add a few of those just in various places coming down the page. Before I move on to the next step, I just thought I'd show you the end result with the second generation of grey granite. I really love these floral borders. I know I don't normally do a lot of florals, but I'm loving how this is looking, especially for our Mother's Day layout. Now what I'm going to do is bring back my scratch paper so that I can put some colour onto these images. I'm going to take my stamped image off my block here and just use my hands. I'm keeping on with the papaya and just doing certain areas. I can actually control where this part of the stamp goes down with my fingers. And I love the extra depth this is giving, but I'm not sure if this is working with the second generation, if the flowers are getting lost a little bit. So I think what I'm going to do is re-stamp this one and get rid of the papaya ink because it's just a little bit too strong, even with the second generation ink. So what I'm going to do is flip this over and re-stamp the florals. I'm not wasting my piece of paper. I'm just going to come in with the peach ink for this because I think the pink is just going to be strong enough. I think the papaya was taking a bit much away from the floral images. So I'm going to come in with first and then second generation of peach. And now I'm going to bring in Coastal Cabana and that little leaf set. So this one is a little bit smaller, and with Stampin' Up inks, they are very, very juicy compared to what the Close to My Heart ones were. So I really don't need to put much ink on this at all. I probably don't even need to press in twice. I'm just going to do one little light press, tap it off. When I think I've got too much colour, I can tap that off and come back in. So I did my inking as I showed you on the scrap piece of paper, and I did it onto my layouts, but I didn't particularly love the end result I was getting. The papaya was a bit too strong, and then when I went to do the Coastal Cabana, I didn't like that colour with it at all. So I went away and I thought about it, and then I came back and had another play with some other colours, and I'm thinking I'm just going to use the peach. And I'm going to bring in Close to My Heart Seabrook. So I'm happy with how the inking has turned out on all of these. I've got my photo mats all set up here. I decided to use charcoal, which is a CTMH colour, and I'm using the light side because I think that works quite well with the grey granite. You can see that's a very close match from that Stampin' spot there. And this is where I'm going to bring in these card bases here. I thought it would be quite lovely to have these coming out of the edges of my photos. Now I am overlapping my photos somewhat, and then this one I'm thinking I'm going to put up in this section here. So what I'm going to do is cut away the pieces that are going to get hidden by the photo mat here. So I'm just going to put a little line here and bring my trimmer in. And the reason why I'm doing that is so that I can stretch this paper as far as possible because I really love the text on this. So I'm just going to cut down. And then I can bring that in because I've put my little pencil line there so I know where to cut to. And make sure I stop before I go all the way through. And then I can just erase that pencil mark. And this is just going to tuck behind here and nobody will know that I've cut this piece away. I'm going to do the same thing for this piece here. And then I'm going to keep building my page. And then to stop these blending into the white background, I'm just going to ink the edges. So I'm using that same granite grey granite. And I'm just going around the edges that are going to show on the layout. But I do like how this is looking. So I'm going to continue doing that for all of those pieces. And then I'm going to do the photo mats as well so that it all matches. So I've got these pieces adhered down and I'm loving the script on this. Now, all the way through my 2023 album, I have been stamping the months using the Close to My Heart Havana alphabet. Normally when I do my months for 2023, I've been trying to get the layouts with just 1 month to a double page spread, but sometimes there are just too many photos or too many special photos or a couple events, so I want to be able to scrapbook it all. So this is going to be a couple of pages, and I really wanted to have my Mother's Day photos on their own double page spread because the next lot of photos that I have for May don't go with this theme at all, and I do want to do a little bit of journaling for this. This has been sitting on my desk for quite a few days. I started recording this video over a week ago, and the more I looked at this, the more I thought I needed to change something with it. When I put my photos onto here, we are wearing a lot of black and white tones, and the pale pastel tones of this layout did not quite go with what we were wearing. So what I've done is actually stamped some in black ink, and you can see I've used up one where I was doing a little practice here. I've got all sorts of practices with this. I love this technique that I showed you in the first part of the video, and I'm going to pull all this off and try and save some of this for some card fronts. But I really think that the black is going to work much better, especially with the tones of this piece here, the pattern paper from the card fronts that I have cut apart, and also with my grey mats and my photos. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to stamp all of this on 2 new pieces, lift all this up and come back with a finished result. You know, sometimes you just look at something and you think, I really need to change it. I'm not that happy with it. But I do love the softness of this, and I wanted to keep that part in the video so you could see how to replicate the effect that is within the card kit itself and transfer it onto a scrapbook layout. So hang tight and I will come back with a finished project. I've got the layout all adhered down. I was able to remove all of these pieces and just transfer them over onto the new pages. And I want to bring this up so that you can see the detail in this floral image. I absolutely love it. And just by changing it to black ink, it just gives it a more modern look. So I'll just bring in one that I took apart. So this was the look to start with that I showed on camera, and it really is a little bit too pastel for my photos. Maybe if I had stamped the grey with first generation, the grey granite, it would have worked a bit better. But as I said, because we are dressed in fairly dark clothes, like black and white clothes, this looks fabulous with the photos that I'm going to put on here, and I absolutely adore this floral set. Most of you know I don't put a lot of florals onto my pages, but I think they really work well with a Mother's Day type theme layout, and I'm really happy with how this looked. I did stamp a couple of extra ones so that I could put them around. I've just tucked them underneath the photo element here. This one I've got partially popped up onto dimensionals. I'm going to do the same thing for this one here so that it's a little bit raised. I had just tucked that under for now. So I'm just going to add adhesive to the corner of this. Run some down like this, and then I'm going to get a couple of dimensionals. This one I've popped up totally on dimensionals. As I said, this one has adhesive flat underneath the photo mat here. So I'm going to do the same for this so that part of it is flat to the page for when my photo sits on top, and I'm really happy with how this looks. Now I'm going to see if I can save some of these stamped images that I have and put them onto cards. So you can check those out on my Instagram or on my Facebook page. I'll have links to that below, as well as a link to this fabulous kit. So this is the Sentimental Rose Card Kit. I haven't created any cards from it as yet. I've just done the stamping and used some of the card fronts here. I absolutely love this text. The other thing that you might notice is a little bit different from the original. I did go around the edges of these printed pieces here with Memento Tuxedo Black ink. I just found that the grey granite left a bit of a green tinge. You can still see it a little bit on here, but I much prefer the black edging on these. And then I did add some liquid pearls, Onyx Black, just to dot around certain areas here, just to fill in some little sections. Stampin' Up have something very similar to this in their catalogue. I just don't have any of that as yet. So I will link to that product below, as well as this kit, as I said. So check out my Instagram and Facebook pages for still photos of this, and also with some of these pieces here that I did my practice stamping on. I was able to cut a whole strip of this so I can see this making a beautiful card. I've loved looking at this card kit and then using the stamp and the card front elements to create this layout. I absolutely love this with the black stamp flowers. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, happy crafting, and bye for now.